So to start us off, let's take a little trip. And the first stop on our trip through time is 2018 in China, where there's something called Singles Day. And Singles Day originated actually at universities in China because the date November 11th is 1111, November 11th. And some Chinese students thought, hey, that means singles because of all those ones in there. And so let's have a day to like celebrate yourself, right? Kind of the anti-Valentine's Day, meaning this is the day to treat yourself, right? It was eventually embraced by Alibaba. Was the first company to popularize it, and then other companies jumped on board. And in 2018, it crossed 30 billion in sales for the first time by using a ton of viral marketing principles related to this moment in time that we can leverage. And we're going to talk about timing a little bit later about why that's important. And so it crossed 30 billion in sales then. Since then, this past year, actually overall, it crossed 60 billion in sales. So it is growing extremely fast. It is the biggest day of commerce in the history of the world. And like I said, we're involved in bringing it to the US this year. So let me know if you're interested in it specifically. But the point I wanted to make was that it's an example of sort of viral campaign builds upon itself, has a huge result on business ROI, and continues to grow very fast. So that's kind of the first stop on our viral marketing trip. Second stop, 2014. You have Bill Gates there. What in the heck is Bill Gates, founder of Microsoft, dumping a bucket of water on his head? Well, it's the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge in 2014. So this is a whole different side. The first one was commerce. This is about a cause. This is about raising money. And because of certain viral principles that we'll talk about, everyone from individuals to celebrities all over the world are dumping buckets of ice on themselves. We'll talk about some of the principles of that, but $115 million raised in really just a couple month period of time because of certain viral marketing principles there. So whether you want it for commerce in the first case or fundraising or the promotion of a cause in the second case, really, really powerful. Brings us to 2012, where you have a portly Korean pop star who is kind of riding the pony there, Gangnam Style, of course. And despite having a song in a language that most of the world doesn't speak, despite being from a genre that had already become very popular, but a lot of places in the world had not discovered it. And by the way, when I first heard Gangnam Style, I mean, I was living in Santiago, Chile, in South America at the time. I was with a whole bunch of, kind of like Chilean interns who work for our companies, the early days of the company. And they were all showing me Gangnam Style. I was like, what is this? Where is this coming from? This is like all over the world in a different language. And it's engaging, recent college grads or college students in Chile of all places. And if you remember that, it reaches 1 billion views very, very fast. And actually since then, a number of other sort of songs or movements or sort of have even exceeded that. So whether that's a song like Despacito, which actually, grew 4 times faster than Gangnam Style in more recent history. There's some others that have broken records as well. So there you go. 3 examples, right? A commerce example, a cause, now just like a cultural, juggernaut like Gangnam Style. And then finally, final trip in our viral marketing journey is 1999. And it's this book, How to Go to College Almost for Free. And I don't know if you can tell I'm a little bit older and wiser now, but that is me on the cover of a book I wrote while I was in college on how to win college scholarships. And I self-published the book. I printed 5,000 copies of it. And how I started learning about viral marketing, some of these principles, we're going to draw upon all 4 of these campaigns, is I started realizing like, wow, no one knows about this. So how do I get people talking about it? What could I do to make people talk about it now and not 3 months from now? Are there certain ways I could frame this topic of paying for college that would make it more accessible or interesting or buzzworthy? I didn't know what I was doing at the time, but all of that was the kind of the core components of virality. And so we ended up selling 2.5 million copies of that book. It was one of the few self-published books that makes bestsellers lists. And then eventually I had sold it to HarperCollins, that and a follow-up book in what was at the time one of the largest book deals ever for a first-time non-celebrity author. And so there was a ton of viral marketing principles and work there. So what we're going to do today is I'm going to draw upon all four of these different campaigns, from causes and products all over the world to movements and even individual books. When I was just a 22-year-old kid trying to move 5,000 copies of the book from my parents' garage. We're going to draw upon all of that today, and I'm going to give you 4 concrete principles that all of these campaigns are based on, and we'll talk about how you can implement them in your next campaign this month. So let's talk about how we can spread our message at lightning speed. What can we do to cause messages to spread? And we're going to do this by starting out with the first principle, which is that context is viral. And it's an overlooked aspect of virality. The context that you place around an idea or a company or a cause or a movement or a meme or, I don't know, a cat or dog video. The context around that becomes really important. And a good way to understand this is to look at this picture and this photo and ask, why is this viral? Why is it viral? So here, Jackson, any ideas of why this picture is viral? Also, if you're watching, if there's any other thoughts, what is viral about this photo? So far, it is a couple kissing, a couple making out, I guess the kids call it. So what do you think? Why is this photo viral?
I suspect we're missing some context here, Ben.
Okay, you're jumping ahead. You know what's happening. But what is it about? Do you think, is this notable on its own?
No, not on its own, except that it looks like they're in a street, which is unusual.
Okay, so it looks like there's in a street. So there's something different. There's something unusual. I don't know if there's anyone else, attending today. If you want to guess or let us know, and maybe you might even recognize this. Okay, I didn't make this up, but the point is that the what's going on itself is not viral, right? It's a couple kissing, expressing affection to each other. There's someone kissing right now, and we're not all sharing it. But if you look at this photo and you zoom out, this is the big picture. This is the context, which is this couple kissing in the street in the middle of the 2011 Vancouver riots. And the context for that, it was a riot that was actually related to sports, and the hockey team didn't win, and people were upset. And what actually happened, the backstory is this woman fell down, and she was kind of panicking in the midst of this riot, and her boyfriend was trying to calm her down and was trying to do anything and kissed her, and it was captured by an AP photographer. And this was one of the 3 most published photos in the world in 2011. So the point I want to make as we start talking about how context is viral is this is your product. This is your cause. This is your company. This is your brand. This is your meme. This is your piece of content. I hate to break it to you, but you are a couple making out. What I mean by that is that, there may be very notable things about your product or your company or brand. It might be really unusual. It might be super disruptive in your industry, but in the context of world events, in the context of, we're having a pandemic right now, in the context of we're having major socioeconomic cultural shifts, we're having huge, obviously, economic crisis in addition to the health crisis. In the midst of all of that, maybe you're not the most important thing going on, at least in most cases, but that doesn't mean you can't go viral, because all of this around us, this is the strategic context. This is the part that makes, that the actual subject of the photo more interesting, more noteworthy, more shareable. And so our job, actually, as viral marketers, one of the first things we need to do is we need to build strategic context that makes what we want to talk about more viral. So let me give you an example of that. That's the high level framework. Let's see how that works actually in real life. So so just to sum up, strategic context makes your product or your brand more viral. So here is a real world example. One of our first clients, when we were just getting started, I mean, gosh, it's a million years ago. I think back in 2012, 2013, and this is KLOOFF, an app for pet lovers. Think of it as like Instagram for pet lovers. At the time, they were a Chilean company. As I mentioned, I was living in Chile. They wanted to launch in the US. They didn't have any users. They didn't have any traction. And we were trying to think of like, how can we get people talking about them? So what we did was we looked at the concept. We wanted strategic context that would make them more viral. And our context was romance. The reason it was romance was because in this app, one of the things you could do is if you allowed it, you could actually see people walking their dog around you. And we thought one of the applications of this is you could go on a doggy walking date, right? Isn't that cute? You know, two people who love dogs can walk their dogs together and maybe they will find lifelong happiness and eternal bliss, right? So that was a context that allowed us to take like pets being shared and put it into something really that has more buzzworthy and that was more interesting. We wanted it as a water cooler topic. So that was our context. And then we thought, how can we create and implement this context in a way that makes it newsworthy, that makes it worth discussing? And so what we came up with was we conducted a survey of 2,000 people to determine what your dog's breed reveals about you. The idea was that, here's a more colloquial way to say it, what is the best dog breed to get a hot date, right? So we thought, okay, let's take this context of romance, which surrounds this product. Now let's ladder in something that is newsworthy, interesting, timely, and we'll talk about all of those kind of different dimensions of it soon. And let's use that to create a story. And here was the result. So 200 plus media outlets covered our story. So this is on the Today Show at the time. You can see a KLOOFF survey, dogs most likely to land you a date. It went actually to all 3 morning shows. So those average between 6 to 7 million people each. So you can see the CBS This Morning ran the headline, "What Your Dog Says About Your Sex Life." That story went to major US print and online media. Time magazine also ran the headline, we pitched them. Huffington Post Green, right? This is environmental. They still found this interesting enough that they wanted to run this. And then it went to 21 other countries. It's not an accident that there's a picture of Paris Hilton and her Chihuahua there, because we had actually results related to Chihuahuas. And actually, if you're interested in the result of this, the best dog breed, if you're a woman to attract a guy, is a golden retriever. You're seen as sweet and loving and caring. But if you have a Chihuahua, one of the results from the survey, you're seen as, and this is just, of course, a silly stereotype, but you're seen as hot, but dumb and possibly high maintenance. Guys, it's the opposite. If you want to attract a woman, here's their little result if you want to take a note. The best dog breed you can have is a Siberian Husky. You're seen as strong, responsible, powerful. But if you have a pit bull, and again, I actually love pit bulls. This is an unfortunate stereotype. You're seen as maybe a little sketchy, slimy, and untrustworthy. So that's the result of this campaign. We have it framed and packaged in a way that media can consume it. And because of that, 20,000 new users don't download the app within 24 hours. The app started trending virally. It started being shared at a crazy amount. And this Chilean team that no one knew used that to raise millions of dollars, get admitted to a prestigious incubator, and eventually sold their app to a major pet brand, and a really nice deal for them. So one of the kind of sides of this, and one of the takeaways is that not only is context is viral, but if you can provide a context that mass media will consume, social media consume, influencer will want to share, that is the first step at achieving this potential virality. So that's principle number 1. Jackson, did that make sense? Do we have any other comments or questions or anything we want to add before we go on to principle number 2?
What I really want to know, Ben, is what does your dog Ginger say about you?
Okay, that is true. I have a Terrier Chihuahua mix. What does that mean? I don't know. Am I hot but dumb? I'm not sure.
Something I'd love to see kind of as we move along this proposal, or this deck. I'm curious how it is that you tie a call to action into these viral moments, right? Mm-hmm. It seems as though, I mean, generating 20,000 new app downloads within 24 hours is tremendous, and there's got to be some intermediate step there. So I'm interested to learn more about that.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. And we'll talk about how do you tie in those triggers. I think one real thing, first thing is that there has to be a call to action. So there has to be a next step, number 1. Number 2, it's got to be super, super simple. And 3, there's got to be some reason for it to do it now. We'll talk about that more when we talk about some of the other principles, but those are kind of at the core of it. That becomes important how you structure it. So let's move on to the second principle. So we learned that context is viral, but also ideas are viral. Ideas are viral. And so what that means is that some ideas want to spread faster than others. So we can add to the virality of anything. We can increase its viral velocity, but some things naturally want to spread. And what are the properties of those things? So the question is, what makes an idea easy to spread? There's a lot of different things, like what things cause an idea to want to be spread. I mean, some typical answers are, some people say, well, okay, if it's funny, I want to spread it. Okay, other people say, if it's like, important, right? Others say, yeah, if it's like something I think my friends will like. Okay, so these are all typical answers. But what I would suggest is that, what makes an idea easy to spread? If you look at all those things, and you look at anything, right? It's like, are people spreading this kind of discount and deal? Are people spreading this dog video? Are people spreading this, hot new product? It's the new Instant Pot, whatever it is. I would boil it down to three things. And that is, number one, that it's simple. And this is actually like physics. What I mean by that is, for an idea to be easy to spread, it could be brilliant and funny and amazing, but if it takes me an hour to explain it to Jackson, very hard to get it to spread fast. Why? Because, it took me an hour to spread to Jackson. If Jackson hears it once and wants to tell Eduardo, it's probably take him longer than an hour. Probably takes him an hour 20, right? And then if Eduardo wants to tell someone else, I mean, this just takes, it's slow, right? So simplicity by its very nature adds to speed because people can talk about it easier. Second is that it's surprising. So lots of things are simple, but if it's just simple and boring, people are not compelled to do it. So we've seen so much. There's been so many, different social media posts. There's been so many scandals in the media. There's been so many, funny videos. So there still needs to be something surprising about it, something that breaks the pattern, breaks the expectation. That's number two. And number three is it's significant. What is it significant beyond that? What does it mean for our culture, our life, how we experience the pet and pet parent bond? What it means for this like important cause we need to shine a light on. What does that say about our future as a society? Whatever it might be, significance adds too. So if you can make your idea or your product or your cause or your meme or your piece of content more simple, more surprising, and more significant, those are the raw ingredients of viral velocity. So let me give you a couple examples of that, and we'll kind of see this in action. So here's the example from what we just discussed, right? We said, okay, your dog's breed reveals your romance potential. What's the best dog breed to get a hot date? Well, in this case, is it simple? Absolutely. It's like dogs match their owners. We're actually saying it's something about you, but we can say you can see that through a dog. That's a simple concept. Is it surprising? Yeah, you saw that article, that headline in Time Magazine, which we pitched, which also ran in CBS, like, what your dog says about your sex life. Those are just two things that don't go together normally, right? So my dog equals my love life. Really? That's a bit surprising. Is it significant? Absolutely. We all want to be more attractive, right? We all, find other people attractive. So it's interesting in the context of it has deep significance. So all of those things, simple, surprising, significant, that's why at its core, and there was many other technical details, which we'll talk about, we had to do for this campaign, but at its core, it was an idea worth spreading. And we're in the business of spreading ideas if we're viral marketers. Let's look at another example. Jackson, have you heard the proverb, a bird in hand is worth two in the bush? Is that one that you've heard of?
I have, but I've never been sure what I'd use the birds for, Ben.
Okay, you're never sure what you use the birds for, but is it like, I find this is one people have heard of, but I don't know if people have used it. Have you ever used this proverb? Have you ever said it, or are you just kind of aware of it?
Well, you know me, Ben. I really love cliches, so I've definitely said a bird in the hand is worth two in the bush a few times.
Okay, so you said it a few times. Okay, got it. So a bird in hand is worth two in the bush. Is it simple? Absolutely, right? It's about birds and hands. Is it surprising? It is surprising math because one is better than two. That's kind of strange, right? Like, oh, one that I have is better than two over there. And is it significant? Absolutely. It's a widely applicable bit of wisdom. Why? Because you can talk about it if you're actually dealing with birds and hands. But you can also be in your next board meeting and someone says, should we expand to Europe and Latin America, or should we stay focused on North America? And then you can say, hey, a bird in hand is worth two in the bush. Let's stay focused right here on what we have. We can expand later. And everyone nods their head, right? So you can use it in a board meeting, or you can use it in like ancient times hunting gathering with birds and hands, right? You can use it either way. That's why it's really sticky. So let me give you a couple other examples, and there's a reason why this proverb has lasted for 2,500 years and transcends all cultures and languages. It is extremely sticky and it's extremely viral. I want to give you one more example because I just think it's important to show the range of topics this works on. But what I want to do is I actually want you to set aside your political hat. I know we are in political season. We are a couple weeks away in the US, at least, for a major election. But we're not going to talk about the election. We're not going to talk about politics right now. We're talking about viral marketing. But I want to see you to see it applied to a political topic that was a very viral one, and one that is very relevant actually to what's happening and going on in a couple weeks. And that is, I want you to look at for a second, just from a viral perspective, as a thought exercise, the Great Wall of Trump. President Trump's wall between the US and Mexico. And I just want you to think about it from a viral perspective. Because if you think back to 2016 and you think about the context for this, there's about 16 candidates in the Republican primary. President Trump was one of them. And at the time, he's a reality star. No one took him particularly seriously. But he had this idea about a wall. Now, let's look at that from a viral marketing perspective. Again, not commenting on the politics at all. So is it simple? It's a wall. Pretty simple. Everyone understands that. Is it surprising? Yeah, because it's not normal for a politician to talk about that. And is it significant? Well, for him, it's not only significant, it's very symbolic that he's tough on immigration. So it was a viral idea in a campaign at a moment where every other politician has a 9-point plan, right? Has a detailed policy paper. And this had some viral components. And so what happened is, if you look at it and you look at the discussion, suddenly this idea takes up all the discussion. All the other candidates have to talk about it. All of the newspapers are talking about it. All of the TV shows are talking about it. It was just a stickier idea that had more viral velocity. And again, this isn't about the merits at all, but I would argue that without the wall, most likely President Trump would not be president right now. And so that's hugely significant in understanding how virality works. So what have we seen? This is the viral litmus test in terms of ideas. Simple. Can you understand it in less than 7 seconds? Surprising. Does it defy your expectations? Does it break some kind of pattern? Significant. Does it convey a deeper truth? And if you think about that, no matter what you are doing, whether that's an email newsletter, simple, surprising, significant. Can I simplify this? Can I make it more surprising? Can I make it more significant? Whether this is a digital ad campaign. Okay, let's look at this digital ad. We're gonna, do the sponsored post on Facebook. Is it simple enough? Is it surprising? Is it significant? Whatever it may be, if you can increase it and increase those components, you can add to the virality. Brings us to the third principle. So far we've learned that context is viral, right? We've learned that it's not just about what you're talking about, your subject, it's everything you put around it. We've learned that ideas are viral. If you can make your ideas more simple, surprising, and significant, whether that's a campaign, whether that's a product, whether that's a brand, it has higher viral velocity. It wants to spread faster. Third is that emotions are viral. Emotions are viral. And to understand that, one of the things we want to talk about is targeting emotions that cause immediate action. So emotions in themselves is not the raw ingredient of virality. It's actually what emotions cause you to do. So to see that and understand the difference, so it's not just about being emotional. Let's look at, let me ask you this question. What is the most shared section of the New York Times? Jackson, what do you think? What is the most shared section of New York Times, or anyone watching today? What do you think is the most shared section of the New York Times? What are we talking about here? Like, what do you read, Jackson?
I'm going to go ahead and guess it's going to be the opinions section.
Okay, opinion section. Why? Why do you think that's shared a lot?
Because there's a lot of emotions going on there. It's controversial.
Okay.
You know, everyone can find something to love, and everyone can find something to hate in the opinion section.
Okay, I'm with you on that. I can see that. Sometimes here's the three answers I commonly get. I get like op-ed or opinions because it's like, oh, it's controversial, it's polarizing, people are taking a stand. I also get sometimes people are like crossword puzzle, right? People are like, okay, that's like niche audience. Like, oh, people are like into the crossword puzzle, right? They're fanatic. And then I occasionally get this one, which is like obituaries. This is from like really dark people, right? Okay, they're doing that, but they're like, like let's honor someone, right? Let's recognize someone. Let's do that. Well, the actual answer is that the most shared section of the New York Times is actually the science section. And sometimes people are puzzled by this because they're like, science section, like I was not interested. I was not sharing my high school biology class, right? This was not the thing that I was most interested in. But what's interesting about the science section is that it activates an emotion called awe. That's not like awe. That's like awe is like our connection, a sense of wonder, how we're all related in the world, how this all fits together. And because science does that, like if you see that story, like, you know, are we the only people in the universe, or is there alien life out there? There really could be. There really could be another Jackson Carpenter in the universe who's just like you. All of those things, that generates awe. So how can we use that? Here's an example of how we use emotions, and I wanted to give you one that uses awe to actually talk about this. A lot of work we did for 9 Lives, and if you don't know 9 Lives, 9 Lives is an iconic cat food brand. It has a celebrity spokes cat called Morris the cat, who is the most famous cat in the world in like the 70s and 80s. The original grumpy cat, right? And so one of our challenges was the client, 9 Lives, asked us, can we use these viral marketing principles to dramatically increase the audience and sharing for Morris the cat and 9 Lives? And could we kind of basically reboot Morris the cat using more viral marketing principles? And so the solution was, let's adjust Morris the cat content, which was a ton of cute cat photos. I mean, cats are cute, little kittens are cute. You know, there's some elements there that are viral, but you know, there's a lot of other viral cat photos out there. So how can we adjust Morris content to focus on activating emotions? And specifically, we focused on awe, right? That connection, that sense of wonderment to the world, that sense of greater understanding. And we wanted our fans and followers to take desired actions and share our content organically. So here's what's happened. Let me give you an example of the kind of post. And by the way, these all are kind of meme-like, so they're meant to sort of not look polished, look organic. So we had this post here that was Morris Cat Wisdom number 2, which was Nap to Win. It was a series of social posts. This is happening primarily on Facebook, called Nap to Win, and this is almost entirely organic, like very, very little paid spend. If there's anything that's like $10 here, like very minimal. And so you can see the caption that says, "You deserve a good nap. Personally, I sleep 16, 17, 18, maybe 19 hours a day, but not 20 hours. That would be excessive." Here's another one from the series. Morris Cat Wisdom, don't blame yourself. You can see the plant fell over. The cat probably did that. And it says, stuff happens, things fall over. Were you the one who discovered gravity? Unless your name is Sir Isaac Newton, the answer is no. And so what we're actually saying here, the reason this activates awe, and we took over this account from one of the most famous social media agencies out there, and the client wanted to see if we could get better results. And what you're actually seeing, the reason it activates awe is that we're actually making statements about the human condition and about the world. We're just doing it through cats. So Nap to Win is actually about, you know what? Hey, hit the snooze button. You deserve it. Come on now. Don't be so uptight about stuff. Why don't you sleep a little more? A bit of human advice. Don't blame yourself is also human advice, and say, you know what? Give yourself a break. Don't be so hard on yourself. Stuff happens. Plants fall over. It's okay. And now, as we started doing that, I want to show you what happened in the feed. So in terms of the results, before they had cute cat photos, now we have cute cat photos. The only thing that has changed is activating the emotion around kind of the subject matter and what we're trying to kind of reveal by that. So here's the result. The number of shares over the same 2-month period from before to after went from 7,500 shares to 83,000 shares by activating emotions like this. So that's up 11x. Then the organic audience reach. So this is for everything that is not paid on this account. Like I said, there's like very little things that were paid, boosted, and mostly unpaid. We go from an average audience reach of 2,600 to 25,000. That's up 10x. Number of likes goes up 11x on the average post. Number of comments goes up 7x. So by activating awe and the sense of wonder and connection and understanding, delivering it through cats to an audience who loves cats, but then anchoring these emotions, we're able to get much, much more results. And this was even during a period when everyone's saying like, yeah, you can't get organic results on Facebook. Well, you can if you activate emotions. So going viral is the sum of multiple contagious emotions. When we do this and when we're adding context and when we're making things more simple and surprising and significant, we're also adding activating emotions and multiple ones that cause people to share. So what does an activating emotion mean? An activating emotion wants you to do something. Awe is activating, right? It makes you want to share or do or take action or feel inspired or feel strong, all of those things. What is an emotion that is very emotional but not activating? Sadness. So stories about, say 9/11s and very sad stories about tragedies that happen to families. Those are incredibly emotional. They affect people greatly. People just don't share them at a high rate. Because when you're sad, what do you want to do? You want to go home, crawl in bed, pull up the covers, and either that or like eat your pint of Ben and Jerry's ice cream, or by yourself, or watch your rom-com movie marathon, whatever it might be. But you don't go tell a lot of people about it usually. So going viral is the sum of multiple contagious emotions, and those are activating emotions that cause action. So what have we learned so far? Right? We can set the strategic context. We can make things more simple, surprising, and significant. We can add activating emotions, and you start layering these things. And with each one, you're making your content or your cause or your brand or product more viral. Brings us to principle number 4, our final principle. And Jackson, any ideas? What have we left out so far? We did context is viral. We did emotions are viral. We did ideas are viral, ideas in a certain way. What else? And I don't think you've seen the presentation. What else have we not discussed that is a key lever? And there's more things than just 4, but I'm giving you 4 big ones that you think is a key lever of virality.
One of the things I'm thinking about, Ben, and I don't have any idea if this is where you're going with it, but one of the things that comes to mind for me is that you really have to consider audience. Something can go viral within a particular community, or something can spread rapidly within a community and then make the leap to the broader social community. But it's very helpful to kind of have those super fans and have a line.
Okay, sure. So certainly, I would say influence is viral. That's not the one I'm going to go with, but I would agree with you on that 100%. And I actually think some of that and what we do and some of the other things that you saw, like if you saw sort of like the ideas are viral or the emotions are viral, we often just practically seed that with audiences, right? So meaning we can deliver the message of awe to cat lovers through cute cat photos, probably at a higher rate than the general population. So if we need that Facebook algorithm to see a ton of shares in a short amount of time, we're going to deliver it to people that like, yes, maybe receptive to awe, but also love cats, right? We're going to target it in a niche way. So certainly we'll do that. But let me focus on one other word you said, which is hugely important, which you said rapidly. And that word brings us to the 4th principle, which is that timing is viral, and timing is viral. And that is hugely important. And the nature of how you use time can turn something that is interesting, intriguing, and make it viral based on how you time it. So let me show you a couple ways this is done. So this challenge, we did the cat side. I wanted to give you the other side of the pet side. And by the way, we've, one of the things that's unique about us is we've done campaigns for, at this point, I think more than 25 different pet brands because of our expertise in how to do this. So Milkbone, the challenge for Milkbone was that Milkbone, our client, needed to remind people to treat their dog on Valentine's Day, right? Come on, dogs are your furry soulmate. They deserve a present too, and it ought to be a Milkbone. But doing it on the day itself, the problem is that would be too late. Why? Because if you went out this campaign on Valentine's Day, people don't have time on Valentine's Day to necessarily go out to the store and pick up the milk bone, see it, get back and do it. So you can't do it then. So one of the things, the challenge we're trying to do is how do we move up Valentine's Day? Create a viral moment, a viral trigger to get a lot of people aware, and then use that to drive Valentine's Day sales a bit later. So the solution was we created Doggy Date Night. And Doggy Date Night on February 3rd was the date to, basically have a date with your dog and share it on social media. We used 20 influencers, 7 paid, and these weren't big paid influencers. These were like, people getting paid typically between $100 and $500. Print average payment maybe $200. And 13 unpaid influencers that were just getting a lot of Milkbone treats and a lot of kind of love in the campaign from Milkbone, but were unpaid. And we used that to spread word and create engagement. But the key here was timing. So 20 influencers is a nice campaign, but 20 influencers spreading this, let's say over 4 months, is not enough to get this to trend on Twitter. So we've got to compress the time. So what we did here is we said, let's have Doggy Date Night from 8 to 10 p.m., a 2-hour window. And within that window, let's focus our influencers to seed it. Let's use them to bring in other people. And let's create this moment in time to increase virality. So this is what it looks like. We have people posting about it on blogs. We have people doing social media, obviously social media posts. We're doing this on Twitter. We have lots of cute dog photos, people napping with their dog. There was all kinds of results. And this is what we drove. So we had 1,000 participants that were seeded by those 20 initial influencers in 2 hours. Because we concentrated that time, that was enough to get it to trend on Twitter. We were able to reach 5 million people that we could measure through that, and 77 million impressions overall, and more than 7,000 social posts in that 2-hour period of time. So oftentimes, it's a little bit counterintuitive, which is you think, hey, I want more reach, I want more exposure, I'm gonna make my campaign longer. Actually, using viral principles, sometimes it's about making your campaign shorter, concentrating the impact and using that to seed virality as well. So timing is viral. So that's one aspect of timing. Let's look at timing in a different way. So we've seen time used in the sense of like, let's make the window short. That's a huge important of timing. But can we use it, to Jackson's point, as a call to action trigger in itself, and not just have a call to action, a CTA? Let's do a VCTA, a viral call to action. So the challenge here for both Postmates and McDonald's was to drive new user acquisition by making consumers aware that they could deliver, Postmates could, and if you don't know Postmates, the food delivery service, a popular one, could deliver McDonald's full menu and triggered them to place their full McDonald's order. So Postmates knew that if we can get people realizing that they can get McDonald's, which is very popular, through them, then they can use it for great customer acquisition. So here's how we used timing and virality as a principle to increase the amount of shareability and the action from consumers. So what we did was we created a campaign on National Eat What You Want Day. This is a real but little used or known holiday. And we actually have a platform we created. If you haven't checked it out, you can go to our agency runs this platform called National Today. It's nationaltoday.com. It's the most popular holiday platform in the world for consumers that want to celebrate these great moments. So we leveraged National Today, we leveraged National Eat What You Want Day, and we asked local residents in major markets that were important ones for both Postmates and McDonald's what they want to eat the most. So we actually did a survey, and we knew McDonald's items were going to be high because they're always high. And so usually that result is a McDonald's Big Mac. And we basically offered Postmates to deliver the item for free. So we're going to deliver for Houston what Houston wants to eat most for free on this day. And the reason for that, and the reason Postmates is happy to do that, is because typically it costs $40 or $50 to acquire a new active customer. If they can do that by delivering a Big Mac, that is a huge win in customer acquisition. So here's what was going on here. There was a few viral triggers. The key one was the middle one there in green, the time trigger, which was a national holiday. It's only on this day. It's only National What You Want to Eat Day. Also, some other triggers. We added relevance to it. This is Jackson's point about audience. We added a location trigger. What that meant is that it's only for people in this city. So we did Houston, and we did Phoenix, and we did Charlotte, and we did Las Vegas. And then finally, there's an emotional trigger. It's all about what you want to eat. What do you really want to eat? What are you craving? Like, man, I want that like to all beef patty special sauce, lettuce, cheese, plus the pickles and onions on a sesame seed bun, right? So what you want to eat. So we layered those things together. We simplified this campaign, so we made it more simple, surprising, and significant on this day. We added the context around it also of National Eat What You Want Day, and here's the result. So we had television news coverage story. This is all unpaid. This is a news story on the evening news where, you know, in ABC Las Vegas or ABC Tampa, they're running the results of what the city wants to eat most. And they're actually running coupon codes. You needed a coupon code on the evening news as news, totally unpaid, because we added these viral triggers. Or print publications. This is the Charlotte Observer saying Postmates wants to give you a free Big Mac today, or the Courier Journal talking about the results of this survey and how to get a free Big Mac. Influencers are spreading it. We didn't contact these influencers. They're picking up on this. So Chicago Foodie Sisters doesn't normally cover Big McDonald's or Big Macs. Suddenly, they're covering it on this holiday. And finally, there's online media sending massive traffic, whether it's sites like Heavy, right? Other places that are, again, food-related sites or viral-related sites don't normally cover Big McDonald's really, and suddenly they're covering. So the result was, in this single day, in a very limited set of markets, we had 70 media hits, 20 TV stations, 75 million impressions, 7,400 app downloads, and delivered more than 6,000 Big Macs. One of the most successful customer acquisition days in the history of Postmates. And that's all with no paid advertising spend, simply by leveraging the principles of virality and, like Jackson mentioned, driving it to a call to action that was time sensitive, right? So timing is viral. And when you start to be able to use time, and when you think of this as advertisers or marketers, we often think of it as like right message, right? To the right audience at the right time. When you're a viral marketer, all those things still matter, but you might say the right time, let's give the right message to the right audience, right? That timing becomes hugely important. And when you start to be able to wield time very strategically and effectively, it can yield all kind of amazing results. So Jackson, do you have any final questions, any final comments? I'm going to wrap up with my big thought of the day and give advice on how to implement all this. But any other comments, questions, thoughts from the group? If you're watching this, do you have a question about how this works in your field? Let me know. Jackson, do you have any thoughts on this? Because I know you are a practitioner, viral practitioner. For instance, you are great on Reddit. You do a lot of campaigns for us that involve Reddit as well. Any other final kind of thoughts or considerations on either the fact that context is viral, ideas are viral, emotions are viral, or timing is viral?
I think maybe the one thing for me, Ben, one takeaway from this that I found very compelling is that viral content tends to be content that instills positive emotions. That is to say, things that make you sad tend to be less viral than things that inspire awe. And I think that's a good takeaway, and I think that's a particularly good takeaway at a time when it feels as though in our heated news cycle today, it's easy to feel as though bad news is the only news that goes viral. So it's a great bit of context to see that actually positive emotions tend to be more viral. There's one question coming in from Ryan, who wonders, are there any platforms that lend themselves more to virality? I hear YouTube isn't very helpful for new creators, for example.
You mentioned that's a great question. Actually, that we just mentioned Reddit. This might be one for the importance of Reddit in terms of seeding virality. It's kind of oversized. And I don't know if you use Reddit much, like, and just if you're not familiar, Reddit, but it's kind of like a lot of first movers, a lot of sharers that have special interests on the internet are in Reddit. So the advantage of Reddit is that basically, if you want to go to a place where there's a high proportion of people who will share things and who will be interested in things and who want to help spread things, it's kind of there, right? And so one of the things, I know Jackson did a ton of work on there, maybe you can comment on, like we just had one really recent campaign where it was all about kind of seeding things organically and authentically, because it can't come across as commercial. But if you do that, you can do it in a short enough time window. So it's a great example of timing is viral, right? That you can get it to start trending so other people can see it. So maybe talk about that, because we probably estimate 30 to 40% of like viral videos probably get their start on Reddit.
Absolutely. Well, I think one of the big things, Ben, is that Reddit takes away the gatekeepers, right? If you're looking at most platforms, for example, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, etc., the more followers you have, the easier it is to spread a message, right? Reddit doesn't work that way. Reddit is one of the most pure meritocracies when it comes to content on the internet. And what I mean by that is that because everyone's identity is anonymous, and because you don't, the platform isn't really set up such that you're following personalities, it's driven entirely by content. And it has thousands of communities that are divided up into, whatever you could be interested in. Ben, if you're interested in, bird watching or leatherworking or, tango, there's communities for that, and you can bring.
So it's a meritocracy. It's kind of focused in these niche areas, and it's populated by people that want to discover and kind of share stuff. And as a result, it gives you those, to your point about audiences, that little bit of that kind of like targeted audience that can be your first movers. The problem is some of these subreddits are popular too, right? So you actually have to time things to get it to be seen by enough people. That requires a little bit of coordination, right?
And I think, I think the way that you do that, Ben, is you kind of look to all of your real life friends, maybe your teammates even. And as soon as you put a new post up on Reddit, one of the first things you can do if you want to ensure that it's going to be successful is send that link around to your network and say, hey, if you don't mind, please upvote this post. Drop a comment in there, because Reddit, like all social platforms, responds well to activity and engagement. And when they see a post that has high engagement, they tend to then serve that post to more people. So if you're looking to stack the deck in your favor a little bit, a great way to do that is, look to a Slack group that has like-minded people who are likely to enjoy and be willing to engage with your content. Share out the link for anything you're posting on Reddit. And ask people to engage early on in order to make sure that you're getting in front of as many relevant people within those subreddits as possible.
So that's just one very specific tactic. We actually just implemented that tactic within the past couple of weeks for a healthcare company with a novel healthcare product. If you're interested in that, please contact us and let us know. I'm going to give you in fact, I'll do it right now. I'll give you my information. I have many different emails at each of our agencies in the top network. PR Hacker is one of them. So you can message me at ben.kaplan@prhacker.com. Let us know your question. Or if we can help, or we can help work on the campaign for you. And we use really viral marketing in all its forms, whether that's social media driven, whether that's on a platform like Reddit, whether that's using mass media. We use something called the viral circle. That's how mass media fuels social media, which fuels more mass media. And it goes in this kind of virtuous circle of virality. So we do all of those sorts of things. So let us know. I'm going to end on the maybe most important advice I can give you. But before I do that, I want to ask this. What is the one thing? Because we are viral marketers, we love knowing what is the stickiest thing I said, what was useful, what was helpful, what was insightful. Tweet at me at Benjamin Kaplan. And you can actually, if you go to linkedin.com/Benjamin Kaplan, you can subscribe to YouTube. If this has been useful to you, I do different topics every week. That's the best way to subscribe to content. And coming up next week is going to be on the new rules of integrated marketing. So if you want to discover how does all the different marketing channels all fit together in a new way. If you are a company that has annual planning to do for next year, it's going to be super useful. That's my email. Today's slides. Oh, Jackson, if you put there, I think I might have the wrong URL there, but let's put today's slides if you want to get them. Let us know. And I think it's just going to be events.benkaplan.com/ I believe it's just going to be, I think power of viral. Is that right, Jackson?
It's just viral marketing. If you take a look at that, all of the attendees should be able to click on the URL there. I've shared the link for slides. I've shared your YouTube channel, Ben,
Okay.
your link.
And then my LinkedIn, and connect with me on LinkedIn. I don't accept every connection request, but I do from everyone who attends the webinar. So just say, hey, I attended your viral marketing webinar, and I will accept. And let me end on the final important thought of the day, which is that virality is not about locking yourself in a room, trying to come up with a genius meme or idea or the next ice bucket challenge. And then having a flash of genius, and then it magically goes viral. Virality is the sum of multiple elements working together, and you can increment those up. So not every campaign you do has to go viral, but if you can start leveraging the fact that I'm going to think about strategic context and increase the virality around this product launch, and I'm going to make my ideas, because ideas are viral, it's more simple, surprising, and significant. That's going to improve virality. And then I'm going to ladder to activating emotions, because emotions are viral. And then I'm going to really pay attention to timing, because I know that timing is viral. You get all these levers, and if you just get them like incrementally, 7% better here, 4% better there, 5% better there, you start seeing a lot of gains. That increases the ROI, whether you are the next, viral sensation or not, because you're getting better results from your marketing. So viral thinking is hugely important as part of your marketing to get more returns. And here's the really cool part. What we will discuss in a follow-up webinar is this idea that, maybe not everything you do has to go viral, but you can tell, you can detect, you can see, you can measure. So you can set up a series of tests to watch the engagement. And when you see something that has the potential to go viral, then you add more fuel to the fire, and you can get that amazing result. So the big takeaway is virality is the sum of multiple viral components working together. You don't have to get all of those perfect. You can incrementally improve. And not everything you do has to go viral, but if you can recognize virality when you see it, if you can add more fuel to the fire, you can get that amazing result that everyone in the world is talking about. So I'm Ben Kaplan. I'm the CEO of Top Global. That means test, optimize, perform. If loving viral marketing is wrong, I don't want to be right. We'll see you next week for the new rules of integrated marketing, and wish you all that kind of success. Cheers.